Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something that's, well, it's becoming pretty essential in how we deal with AI prompt engineering. We've got some really interesting material to get into this.
Exactly, yeah. We'll be looking at insights from the Prompt Architect AI podcast, specifically an interview with Francesco Dominoni. He's the founder of Prompt Architect AI and also certified in Google AI Essentials.
And to get that wider view, we also have this document, the Prompt Engineering Timeline and Figures. That should give us some good historical context, maybe introduce some of the key people involved.
Yeah, definitely. And our mission for you today really is to cut through the noise and help you understand what prompt engineering actually is, how it started, why it's suddenly so important.
And where it might be going, all without hopefully getting too lost in the technical weeds. We want you to walk away with a clear picture.
Right. A solid grasp of a really key skill for, now. So let's just jump in. What is prompt engineering at its core?
Well, Francesco Dominoni, he puts it quite nicely. He talks about it as the craft, or maybe the art, of communicating effectively with AI models, getting them to do specific things.
Okay, communicating effectively.
Yeah, he uses this comparison like, imagine you're explaining a task to a really, really smart assistant, someone who knows a ton, but they need really precise instructions to get what you actually want done.
Got it. So it's all about being super clear with this, knowledgeable, but maybe slightly literal helper?
Exactly. That seems to be the heart of it.
Okay. So when did we start figuring this out? When did it click that how we ask the AI makes such a huge difference?
Well, our timeline document suggests the early signs were pretty informal, around when OpenAI released GPT-2, and then especially GPT-3.
Ah, right. So people were just playing around with it.
Kinda, yeah. Users just started noticing that, small changes in how they phrase something could lead to wildly different outputs from the AI. It was very much a trial and error phase, lots of figuring things out.
And Francesco points out, which I think is interesting, this wasn't some grand plan, it wasn't designed as an academic field from the start. No, it just sort of bubbled up organically. People were using these new, powerful language models, and they just discovered, through experimenting, how much influence their prompts had.
Right. But then it did get more formal, more structured. The timeline mentions 2021 as being pretty key.
That's right, yeah. Francesco notes that the actual term prompt engineering really started gaining traction then.
Okay.
And practitioners, they started treating prompts more systematically, almost like code in a way, building, actual systems around designing and using prompts effectively.
So it went from just fiddling around to find something that works to a more deliberate, structured approach as the AI got smarter.
Exactly. Francesco explains it well. In the early days, with the Simply models, prompting was often about finding the right keywords, or maybe a specific sentence structure.
Like finding the magic words.
Sort of, yeah, like finding the right little switch to flip to get the behavior you wanted. But today, he says, especially with models like GPT-4 or Gemini, the game has changed.
How so?
It's shifted much more towards what he calls system-level prompting.
System-level prompting. Okay, what does that actually mean in practice?
Well, it means thinking bigger. It's about embedding prompts within larger automated workflows, maybe chaining multiple prompts together to handle complex tasks that have several steps.
Okay, chaining them.
Yeah, and figuring out how to handle errors, like if the AI gives a weird response, and even designing the interfaces people use to interact with these AI tools. It's moved beyond just getting one good answer.
Right, it's about making the AI outputs reliable and useful within a whole application or process. Maybe needed to summarize a report, then draft an email based on that summary.
Exactly, that's system level thinking. One prompt might do the summary, its output feeds into the next prompt for the email draft, and you'd have checks in place if the summary wasn't good enough.
Now, this is where I think it gets really interesting. Francesco talks about prompt engineering being both an art and a science.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, let's tackle the science bit first. How is it scientific?
Well, the science part, he explains, involves a lot of iteration. You try a prompt, you test it, you see what happens, you analyze the output, then you tweak the prompt and test again.
So experimenting, like in coding or machine learning itself, running tests, measuring results.
Precisely. It's systematic, controlled experiments to see what works best, what gives you the most consistent or accurate results.
Okay, that makes sense. But then there's the art. What's the artistic side of it?
The art, Francesco suggests, is more about how you phrase things, the nuance. It's about understanding language deeply enough to anticipate how the AI might misinterpret something.
Ambiguity.
Yeah, avoiding ambiguity. And having a feel, almost an intuition for how the model might perceive your intent. It's not just about being technically precise, but also understanding the mind of the language model, if you like.
Yeah. So finding that balance, you need the precision of science, but also that sort of, maybe empathy is too strong a word, but an understanding of how the AI processes language.
Exactly that. Finding the sweet spot. Now, how does this stack up against, say, traditional programming? Because programmers give computers precise instructions too. What's different?
Yeah, that's a really important distinction Francesco makes. He says traditional programming is deterministic.
Meaning
the code does exactly what you tell it, every single time. Predictable. But prompting? You're dealing with probabilistic systems.
Probabilistic, meaning based on likelihoods.
Right. You're not giving absolute commands. You're more like guiding the AI's behavior, influencing the probability of it giving you the desired output. Its responses can vary, even sometimes with the same prompt.
Ah, okay. Like steering rather than driving on rails.
That's a good analogy, yeah. He says it really requires a different mindset. You have to think less like a commander issuing orders and more like a collaborator. You're guiding this powerful, slightly unpredictable intelligence.
That makes a lot of sense. A different way of thinking entirely. So who were the people who started shaping this field early on? Our timeline mentions some names and groups.
Yeah, the timeline points to crucial early work by researchers at places like OpenAI, obviously, and Anthropic. Universities, too, like Stanford, were involved early.
And individuals. I think I saw some names.
Right. People like Ethan Perez, Gwern, Riley Goodside. They were really important in making prompt engineering more visible, sharing what they were doing.
And what kind of work was influential? Were there key papers or tools?
Francesco mentioned a paper like language models are few-shot learners being significant, and tools like Prompt Source or the work done by groups like Eleuther AI helped open things up, made it easier for more people to experiment.
And people like Perez and Goodside, they were sharing specific prompt designs.
Exactly. Showing examples, sharing the results, really demonstrating the craft of it. Our timeline suggests that around 2021, when it formalized, you saw more people proposing specific techniques, like structured ways to prompt.
It definitely sounds like it grew fast, very collaboratively. So, okay, LLMs, large language models are everywhere now. Why is prompt engineering suddenly this indispensable skill?
Well, Francesco argues it's absolutely crucial now because these LLMs are being plugged into really important areas, right? Customer service, education, healthcare, law.
High stakes stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the ability to make sure these AI systems are accurate, that they're reliable, that they actually understand what users need, especially the nuances, that's become critical.
So prompt engineering is basically the bridge between the raw power of the AI and getting useful, safe results in the real world. It's a perfect way to put it. It's the bridge. And Francesco warns, without good prompting, we either won't use these powerful tools to their full potential.
Or worse.
We could misuse them, get unintended, maybe harmful results because the communication wasn't clear.
Right. Okay, so what kinds of specific problems does prompt engineering help solve? Things that maybe older rule-based systems couldn't handle.
Francesco gives some great examples. He says prompting shines where you need that human-like grasp of language. Things like subtle text classification or summarizing really complex documents effectively.
Things that need understanding, not just rules.
Exactly. Context-aware translation between languages, too. Or even getting an AI to simulate how an expert might reason through a problem in the specific field.
And he also mentioned prototyping.
Yeah, that's a huge one. It allows people to build functional AI systems really quickly, especially for complex processes or dealing with messy, unstructured data, and often without needing to train a whole new custom AI model, which takes a lot of time and resources.
So it speeds things up and makes AI more accessible.
Definitely. That's maybe the most crucial part. It opens the door for people who aren't deep tech experts, who aren't coders. So for you listening, even if you're not technical, prompt engineering gives you a way to directly interact with and leverage these incredibly advanced AI tools.
That really democratizes it, doesn't it? Makes it usable for more people. Okay, thinking ahead then. The future. Will prompt engineering eventually just fade away as AI gets even smarter? Will we even need it?
Francesco's take is interesting. He doesn't think it will disappear, Evolve?
Yes.
Disappear? No.
Why not?
Because even if models get better at understanding us, he argues, we'll always need to clearly define what we want. We need to set the objectives, the constraints, the desired outcome for the AI. That fundamental need for clear communication, he thinks, will remain.
So the methods might change, the tools might get better?
Exactly. He even talks about a future where prompting might become more of a collaboration, like the AI might help you refine your prompts to get a better result.
Wow, okay. It's sort of dialogue about the prompt itself.
Could be, but the core skill, he insists, the ability to clearly articulate your intent to the AI, that's going to remain essential however the tech changes.
Makes sense. And if people listening want to learn more from Francesco himself, where can they find him?
Yeah, he's got a website, www.promptarchitectai.com. Lots of info there. And a YouTube channel too. It's youtube.com/promptarchitectai, plus other social media.
And it's worth mentioning his background, right? It's quite broad.
Yeah, political science, marketing, project management, including Agile, even Salesforce Admin certified. It gives him this really interesting mix of communication, strategy, and technical application. A unique perspective on applying AI, practically.
Definitely. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the big takeaway for you, the listener, about prompt engineering?
I think the main thing is realizing it's this incredibly dynamic and, increasingly vital skill. It's the essential link, that bridge we talked about, between what we humans want to achieve and what these powerful AI tools can actually do.
It's not just chatting with a bot.
No, not at all. It's strategic communication. It's about guiding intelligence effectively.
Right. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. As these AI models get even more capable, how will this collaborative aspect, this art and science of prompting, change how we even think about solving problems or about being creative?
Could we be entering a new phase of human AI co-creation, really driven by how well we learn to prompt?
Something significant to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.